Once upon a time, 276 schoolgirls were kidnapped and the world promised never to forget. Spoiler alert, we did. It's been 11 years, and 82 of them are still missing. So before you click away to watch a dancing cat, let's talk about the story the internet left behind. Back in April 2014, in a small town called Chibok, northeast Nigeria, the night was as ordinary as any other. The girls at the government girls' secondary school were cramming for their final exams, probably complaining about the usual too much reading, not enough sleep, and no Wi-Fi. Then, everything changed. Armed men burst into the dormitories, shouting orders in Hausa and Arabic. Some of the girls thought the soldiers had come to protect them. They were wrong. Within hours, 276 of them were taken away in trucks, vanishing into the darkness of the Sambisa forest. 57 managed to escape by jumping off moving trucks, their bravery saving their lives. The rest disappeared into captivity. The world reacted with outrage. Within days, Bring Back Our Girls went viral. Celebrities, activists, presidents, even Michelle Obama held up signs. For a while, it felt like humanity united behind one goal. But as weeks turned into months and months into years, the outrage faded, timelines filled with new scandals, and the world moved on. The hashtag stayed in history, but many of the girls did not. Let's rewind for a second. Who exactly were these kidnappers who turned schoolbooks into symbols of defiance? They called themselves Boko Haram, which loosely translates to Western education is forbidden. Ironically, the group itself uses satellite phones, GPS, and social media, all inventions of the West. Their hypocrisy is breathtaking. Boko Haram began in the early 2000s, led by Muhammad Yusuf, preaching against Western influence. But after Yusuf was killed by Nigerian security forces in 2009, his followers transformed into a violent insurgency. Since then, the group has killed over 35,000 people and displaced more than 2.5 million across Nigeria, Chad, and Cameroon. Their reign of terror includes suicide bombings, mass abductions, and attacks on schools, mosques, and markets. The group later splintered into factions, one aligning with the Islamic State and rebranding as ISWAP, Islamic State West Africa Province. Different name, same nightmare. Fast forward to 2025, and the story isn't over. In September, Boko Haram militants attacked the village of Dar el Jamal in Borno State. According to Al Jazeera, over 70 civilians were killed and dozens wounded. The month before, Reuters reported a deadly assault on a military base in the same region. Human Rights Watch confirmed that suicide bombings have made a grim comeback this year, targeting markets and schools. And yet, the government insists the insurgency is technically defeated. Technically. That's like saying you technically finished your diet while still holding a donut. Despite years of military operations and international assistance, the group continues to adapt. In July 2025, Anadolu Agency reported that the Nigerian army neutralized 24 insurgents in a raid. The next week, ISWAP launched another attack on civilians. The more things change, the more they explode. The tragedy of the Chibok girls became the symbol of this conflict, but they are only a fraction of the suffering. Since 2019, hundreds of students have been abducted in similar attacks across northern Nigeria, Kaduna, Katsina, Niger. Imagine that. In 2025, going to school is still an act of courage. For the Chibok girls who returned, freedom wasn't the end of the story. It was the start of a new battle. Survivors described being forced into marriages, beaten for speaking English, and giving birth in captivity. Many returned to find themselves shunned by their own communities. Amnesty International's June 2025 report revealed that the Nigerian government still fails to provide adequate support for survivors. Some live in makeshift housing. Others battle trauma without therapy or education. One young woman put it perfectly, "They brought us back, but they never truly brought us home." Meanwhile, 82 girls remain missing 11 years later. Their families still keep their rooms ready, still whisper prayers before sleep. Hope has a strange kind of stubbornness. It doesn't give up, even when logic does. And while the world's attention has drifted, the violence hasn't. In May 2025, 2 villages in Borno were burned to the ground. In July, 9 civilians were killed in Malamfatori. The United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights released a report in September accusing Nigeria of grave and systematic violations of women's and girls' rights amid the conflict, forced marriages, sexual slavery, and government neglect. To make matters worse, Niger withdrew from the regional task force fighting Boko Haram earlier this year, weakening cooperation in the Lake Chad region. It's like the neighborhood watch quitting while burglars are still breaking windows. So why does this story matter now? Because storytelling is how we fight forgetfulness. Our collective memory is short, scroll short, swipe short. But a good story told right can hold attention longer than outrage can. When you tell this story, don't just recite statistics. Tell it through the eyes of one girl, one mother, one teacher. Maybe it's Naomi Adamu, who escaped and secretly kept a diary in captivity, writing her hope between the lines of her schoolbook. One of her entries read, "We will not die here." That line carries more power than any speech. It's the heartbeat of the entire movement. That's what good storytelling does. It makes the listener feel the heartbeat. Facts make people think, but feelings make them act. If you want your audience to remember, make them feel. Now, let's be honest, our empathy tends to have a battery life. When something stops trending, it stops existing for many people. But stories can recharge empathy. They remind us that behind the numbers are faces, and behind every face is a future worth fighting for. And yes, it's okay to use humor even in dark stories. Humor isn't disrespectful when it's used to reveal truth. You can say, "The government says they've ended the insurgency," but that's the same government that said they fixed power supply in 2012. The audience laughs, but they get it. Humor gives people a moment to breathe, so they can keep listening. It's emotional CPR. Storytelling is also about rhythm. You can't just hammer sadness non-stop. You need contrast, hope, strength, even irony. Talk about the mothers in Chibok who still meet weekly to pray for their daughters. Talk about the survivors who are now studying to become teachers. That's poetic justice. The same education Boko Haram tried to destroy has become their greatest rebellion. When you tell stories like this, remember 3 golden rules. First, make it personal. The smaller the focus, the deeper the empathy. Second, balance fact and feeling. Too many facts and you lose hearts, too much emotion and you lose trust. And third, end with purpose. A story without a call to action is like a movie without an ending. You could say, "If this story moves you, share it." Or, "Support organizations that provide education and mental health care for survivors." People want to help, they just need to know how. Give them that chance. More than a decade later, 82 Chibok families are still waiting. Proof that time doesn't heal what the world forgets. Some rescued girls are now mothers. Others are advocates, turning pain into purpose. Their courage reminds us that real humanity isn't measured by the noise we make when tragedy hits, but by how long we keep listening after it fades. We may not be able to bring every girl home, but through honest storytelling, we can keep their voices alive. Because the most powerful stories aren't just told, they're felt, and they live on in what we choose to do next. And if this video moved you even a little, don't just scroll away, hit that like button, because every click helps the story travel further. Subscribe if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, not forgotten. Drop a comment below what part hit you the hardest. I read them all.